Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into BiblioTech On Air, BiblioTech Public Library's official podcast. I'm Rosanna.
I'm Ruby.
I'm Israel.
And I'm Lewis.
And today we're going to be coming at you with two segments. We're going to be covering a movie and a comic series. Starting off, Late Night with the Devil, which we have available on Kanopy. And then we are going to be covering Minor Arcana by Jeff Lemire, whose plethora of work is going to be available on our resources. Hoopla. We're going to have anything from his DC works, Marvel works. He's got a lot of stuff on there.
Yeah.
And so to start off with Late Night with the Devil, like Rosanna said, it is available on Kanopy. It did come out in 2024. Did great in the theaters, obviously. Late Night with the Devil is directed by Cameron Cairnes and Colin Cairnes and is a found footage style horror film set in 1977. It follows Jack Delroy, played by David Dastmalchian, the host of the struggling late night talk show Night Owls. In a desperate attempt to boost ratings, he airs a Halloween special featuring physics, skeptics, and the star attraction, Lily, a young girl allegedly possessed by a demonic force. As the live broadcast unfolds, supernatural events spiral out of control, turning what was meant to be entertainment into a terrifying nightmare with deadly consequences.
Yeah. Great film. What did y'all think about it?
Exceeded expectations.
100
It was a
out
lot
of
better
10.
than I thought it was going to be.
I had some expectations for what I thought it was going to be going in as blind as I did.
Yeah.
And it did not meet those expectations, but also what it ended up being was still really fascinating.
I'm not a huge horror fan, but I do enjoy a horror film. Will I go see a horror movie at the movie theater? No, because I'm scared. I'm a wimp.
I'm kind of opposite spectrum. I love horror stuff, but horror films are kind of like a for me, just because it's like you can read about it, you can like listen to podcasts, stuff like that, and like hear horror stories, but actually seeing it and like getting into like gore and stuff, that's a little bit more scarring for me, you know?
Yeah. It was quite enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know? I really liked it. We have a set of questions to guide discussion, so let's get right into it. So, how does the 1970 talk show setting add to the horror? And what does it say about the media's role in shaping public fears?
Love it.
I mean,
love
talk
it.
shows had a big presence back in the
Yeah,
70s. You only
definitely.
had like a handful of channels, 5 or 6 channels. So there was a big emphasis on these late night TV shows. You had like American Bandstand, the one that they would mention constantly in the show. What was it? The
Johnny Carson?
Johnny
Yeah,
Carson.
late
Carson.
night.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting to see, like, they mentioned that this, fictitious show had amazing ratings, but it was still falling short of Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
And because of that, that just kind of like drove them to just try and
To
surpass
madness.
that, which I don't know. At that point, I would be like, we're doing great.
Yeah, let's
We're
just
like-
keep it going. Keep the vibes going.
But that definitely adds a lot to the stakes.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
I love when when in like horror movies where it's found in places you would least expect it.
Yeah.
Like horror in a haunted house late at night.
In the
Okay,
forest,
whatever.
yeah.
I'm uninterested. But when it's something like in a scene like this, like on live television where people trust you, people are trusting what is being given to them. That's when you least expect
So
it.
public.
And I feel like there's such like a really fun, almost like darkly funny juxtaposition between like, it is the 70s. We are going like very cheesy, very like, like tongue in cheek jokes and like very like bright colors, and juxtaposing that with like, and all of these like horribly real, gory, like, and like just unsettling things are taking place on such a brightly colored set where everyone is supposed to be kind of like all smiles, playing to the advertisers. I think that it lends itself really, really well to just kind of that jarring feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So it does center around Jack Delroy, right? So do you see him as a victim of circumstance, or does he bring his own downfall on himself?
He
What do y'all
sold
think?
his soul. He
set
knew what
himself
he
up
was
for failure.
doing.
I don't think he could have known exactly the extent of what was
Sure,
going to
yeah,
happen
for
to
sure.
him, but he just he wanted to beat Johnny Carson so bad, and he got so blinded by that he sold everything, absolutely everything, and he meddled with things that he didn't understand in order to get there. And I cannot have more than just a little sympathy for him
I
because
don't
of that.
understand when people like in movies, they're like, they sell their soul, they do rituals, all that. And then like when things start happening to them, they're like, oh, they're
Why is this
scared.
happening?
Like, girl, you orchestrated
Why are
this.
you in my house?
Why?
He definitely didn't know what was to come and the extent it was to come. Also, too, he was part of the Grove, which was that society, that cult society that praises and that follows Abraxas, who's the demon, like behind everything. Maybe he just didn't think it was that bad, but also,
he was like,
why didn't the
Abraxas-
other like members tell him like, hey, dude, like. So first of all, it means that everybody in the Grove, everybody in that cult is like all good with it.
Yeah.
I sold my soul already. Cool. You're gonna sell your soul. That's cool too. I don't want to give you a heads up on like, hey, it's pretty bad. You know, maybe you might not want to do this.
I mean,
know?
are you surprised?
No.
These
Yeah.
are politicians, celebrities, sorts of people that are committing probably atrocities to get to where they're at.
Yeah.
They're not going to care about some late time host who's like,
Exactly.
oh, well, maybe if I do this.
Yeah, I feel like they saw, if anything, they kind of probably saw him as like a pawn just because they're like, he wants fame so bad that he would do anything on a
Yeah.
public forum to get what he sees as good ratings. And we can just let him talk to such an impressionable, large audience for us without having to try very hard.
Exactly.
They probably get
Yeah.
something out of it too. They're probably using him as like another like somewhat sacrifice
Yeah.
in their play.
To further the cult.
Yeah. So Abraxas, I think they say in the movie, the way he gains followers is by when people see the ritual. And so, I mean, this is on live television.
Yeah.
You know, he
miss
has a bunch
that.
of followers now at this point.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It was interesting also because the Grove is real.
Yeah.
Like the Society
Yeah.
of the Grove. Maybe, I don't know if they're an actual cult. We're never going to know. But
Yeah.
like, it's interesting to be like, oh, this is real. And you always hear about that in
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Hollywood elite and societies, like certain groups, like, you know, you constantly hear about like the Illuminati, please don't get me. You know, other cults like that. That just kind of add to the mystery, add a
Yeah.
little bit to that horror element
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
film. Because it's like, this isn't too
Yeah.
far-fetched from reality.
Yeah, you're hearing it here first, y'all. I am part of the Grove. I am part of the Illuminati.
No,
Anyways,
I get it.
Can I meet Beyonce?
You know, that's a myth. So I've not seen her at the parties.
Yeah.
So the horror in Late Night with the Devil, it really builds up. It's a slow build, right? And then everything just is chaos at the end. How did you like the pacing? Did it work for y'all? Would you like to have seen more scares earlier on?
So I think the pacing and the way that they ramp things up is pretty good. I have a little bit of a nitpick with this movie though, where the way that it was shot bothers me, because if they bring it up as like it's a found footage thing, but when they go backstage with them, not only are the camera angles super like intimate, like to the point that if this was really happening, they would be turning the camera, they'd be like, get the camera out of my face. Like, but it's also like very high quality camera, stuff like that. My friend and I who were watching the movie were like, it would be better if there were like security cameras or something. I
Yeah.
feel like that messes with the pacing.
Like those Murray cameras.
Yeah, and I feel like the scares later on would have hit so much harder if that was the first time you saw a jump to a high quality camera.
Yeah,
you
you
know?
know what's interesting? So there's a community of individuals that make edit films, right? To maybe do the flow better. But I wonder if there's an edit for this film where they just show the show. And
That-
so, like,
yeah.
The way
you
the
know,
audience is
the way
watching
the
it.
audience is watching it.
That'd be really fun
You
to
know,
see.
that'd be kind of interesting. Were there any like specific moments, scenes that really stuck with you or that you really enjoyed?
It was fun seeing Lily. Like,
Oh,
Lily,
I
when the
loved
wife
Lily.
persona would come out. That was
yeah,
pretty.
with her
I
voice.
love when little kids are just the freaking best actresses and
Seriously.
actors I've ever seen. I'm like, my gosh.
So disturbing. There was a scene that I literally could not watch, like visually watch. I had to turn away. It was the worms thing. I don't know what that scene looks like, and God willing, I never will. But that scene stuck with me because I could hear it. And it was very much like, I feel like that scene is so properly built up to, and just like the concept itself of just like, he's like basically like hypnotizing the masses to hallucinate this. Like that following scene where they're watching the footage back and it's just him freaking out with nothing on him. Like, and Lily's in the back probably seeing through the whole thing. And she's like, why is he moving so silly?
Yeah.
Like that entire scene is very well done. I wish I could have seen part of it.
Yeah.
Maybe in bits. What about you, Rosanna?
I would say also, aside from like Lily, the Christo, even though he was in the movie for
Oh,
such a
dude,
short
yeah.
amount, the impression that he made, and that was just like the kind of setup and catalyst for everything. I thought like his presence in the film was also, he was kind of giving me like, you know, like Prince vibes a little
Yeah.
bit, which was great. Very 70s persona. Very,
Definitely,
you
yeah.
know, just so great.
It was so good. His
Yeah.
rant was due.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Poor guy.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
R.I.P. You know,
Yeah,
Gus
rip.
too. Gus was a real one, but I did read, and it was kind of fascinating. Someone that watched the movie, they think that Gus, it was a whole thing. Never mind.
He's like a follower
Never
of
mind.
Abraxas.
No, that he was very like his own person, but because he was very weak-willed, he was never able to like get. It was a whole thing. It was
Gotcha.
super fascinating, but it was because it falls to him being just such a weak-willed person, even though he wanted nothing to do with that. That's why he ended up being kind of a victim as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What about that ending where where he goes to his wife is on the bed, and she asks him to kill her, like to release her,
Yeah.
you know? And it cuts to real time, him actually unaliving the little girl, Lily. You know, I think that was a great surprise. I didn't see that coming, really. I was so confused a little bit at that point. But when I saw that, I was like, oh, that makes sense. So people like actually saw him like do the
Yeah.
ritual and everything.
Yeah.
So this just fits into like the whole theme of Abraxas as
Yeah.
a demon and how he gains followers and things like that. But yeah, that was really enjoyable. I
was
really
good.
like that.
I
Yeah.
loved when Lily's head just went
Split
yeah,
open.
split
Yeah.
open and unleashed
I
a whole
love that.
universe of electricity.
Yeah. Can't say I've ever seen that before in horror. And like, I think it was that visual alone was just super disturbing, but also like you couldn't look away.
Oh, I
you
loved
know?
Yeah, I did like the glowing effect.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the first Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And that kind of style, even
Yeah.
with like the worms and like the prosthetics or whatever it is that they're using. I love that they took it in that direction and not like CGI.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure there's some CGI included in it, but for the most part, it looked like they actually made the props and everything.
Yeah. Which practical effects are always going to hit
Yeah,
a
there you
little
go.
harder.
Yeah. And they age better.
Yeah, definitely.
Like for the ending, like you mentioned, the movie itself was fairly predictable, at least to me, because the things, the plot points, like mentally, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm calling. I'm like, you know, it's
Yeah.
obviously his wife, and
Yeah,
but that ending part, like where it's like he wished to be the most talked about TV show host of all time, and boy, you
got it.
You
your
got
own
it.
wish.
There's that line that Lily says where she's like, "Don't you worry, your show's gonna get ratings.
Yeah.
Your show's gonna be watched." And she-
Another favorite scene of mine was when the skeptic, it culminates to the end, and he's like, "Please, please, please, you know, I'll do anything,
Yeah.
you know." And then the demon is like, "Abracadabra."
Because he's been such an antagonizing force this whole time.
Yeah.
Anyone he would dispute Carmichael. He would absolutely dispute the doctor, the psychiatrist.
Christou.
He would just lay into them.
Yeah.
And finally, at the end, we see his true colors, which not surprising.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
surprising. Yeah. So if Late Night with the Devil actually happened, right? What do you think? You think you would have watched the show? You think it would have turned away?
It would have sent me into
Seen
psychosis if I like
that
we're
actually
talking about
happen.
Ghost Watch, like how it actually fooled a lot of people, and people were calling into the show just being like, "Oh my god, do you see this?"
Oh my god.
yeah.
Like truly, I would have lost my mind that day, never recovered.
Are we thinking of it as watching it in the 70s or watching it modern day wise? Because you got to keep in mind, in the 70s, you have to have someone who's already watching the show. They have to phone you and be like, "Hey, I'm watching this show. You should turn
you
to
seeing
channel
this?"
2." And then,
Yeah.
just like, meanwhile, we can just be doing nothing and be like, "Hey, I'm going to send you a link to this clip. You should check it
Yeah,
out." Or a
definitely.
live stream that's going
Yeah,
on.
I was about to say, we were talking about like what if there was a modern version
Yeah.
of this sort of scenario, and we were like, it would be like a Twitch
On this
stream or
podcast?
something.
We could
yeah,
do it.
we could do it.
We are doing it.
We are doing
I think I would like if I was watching the 70s that came out on the television. I am a morbidly curious person. I would just watch, and no matter how disturbing things got, I'd be like, "Oh my god, wait, hold on, is this really happening?"
Yeah.
And the worms thing would happen, just like it does in the movie. And I don't know if I would continue watching or not after that, but I feel like I would turn off the TV at that point.
What would be
Reasonable.
your breaking point?
I just wonder at what point did you become a follower of Abraxas? Like, is it when he actually
Commits the ritual?
unalived Lily?
Or is it from the beginning?
Or is it from, another point?
I mean, I've always been.
I would have, I don't think I would have watched, to be honest. Yeah. I probably couldn't afford a TV.
You know what?
You know,
So
back
fair.
There's
then.
that.
Valid.
But out of 10, what would you give Late Night with the Devil?
7 out of 10. I love where it's going with things, but there's a few things that I would really tweak to make it stand out to me.
Pretty good, Ruby.
I would do 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Very nice.
Give it an 8 out of 10. Pacing was great. The actors were sure acting. It does a great job of just building that suspense.
Yeah,
it's not
nice.
really like horror, like scary, but it's very unsettling.
Yeah.
They're perfect, unsettling. I would give it 8.5. You know, I liked it. The pacing was great. The acting was great, as you said. I think if I would have seen it in the movies, I would have given it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's very
Very good
creative.
experience.
It's very, very creative, and it doesn't read as like kind of a more like horror movie, like generic, like we're going, like you said, haunted house. There is a demon possession in like a little like done, but you know it hasn't been done a lot. Late night show.
Yeah.
And I feel like if people keep taking directions like this, no matter how they end up turning out, I'm just gonna be happy that horror is branching out more.
Oh, yeah.
You know, on second thought, y'all remember that old lady, that old 90s TV show, Cristina, that would show on Univision? They probably did that on
They
there. So
probably
you
did
know
that
what?
on there.
Statement retracted.
Actually, I'm gonna dock a point because they used AI images.
Oh, that was a big controversy,
That was a
actually.
big controversy.
They in some of like the transition
like
screens,
the
like
interstitial
Owl,
images.
like Halloween. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Those are
see. I
AI
see.
images.
Yeah, they could definitely afford
An actual artist.
Yeah.
Great. Well, switching over to Minor Arcana
Still on the
by
topic
Jeff
of
Lemire.
supernatural.
Yeah. So Jeff Lemire, a little bit about him. He's a Canadian comic book writer and artist known for Essex County, Sweet Tooth, which is also a show on Netflix, Black Hammer. He's also did work with DC, Marvel, Image, Dark Horse on titles like Green Arrow and Moon Knight. Currently, he's writing Absolute Flash. So issue 1 did release for Absolute Flash, which is a fresh take on Wally West. And then Minor Arcana, and among other things I'm sure he's working on. In terms of what he has on our resources, his work, he has a plethora. Like, this guy is one of the top writers in the comic book world. So we have Descender on Hoopla, Old Man Logan, Moon Knight, Ascender, Thanos. He's worked on Black Hammer, as I stated, Batman and Robin, among other comics, right? But a little bit about Minor Arcana. So Minor Arcana by Jeff Lemire follows Teresa, a woman who reluctantly returns to her small hometown to care for her ailing mother. A tarot reader. How do you say it? Tarot or tarot?
Tarot.
Tarot. Okay. A tarot reader she's long dismissed as a fraud. But as Teresa reconnects with the town and her past, she begins to experience strange supernatural events, hinting that the magic she's always denied might be real. As she struggles with family tensions, buried secrets, and her own emerging abilities, Teresa is forced to confront whether she can escape her fate or if she's been part of something bigger all along. What did y'all think? There's only 5 issues out now. Issue 6 does come out in April, I believe. But first 5 issues, what did y'all think?
Upset that there wasn't more.
Dude, for
Exactly.
real, this is my first comic that I'm reading that it's not complete. So I'm like, I have to wait a whole month to read another little snippet of it. That upsets me, but it's good. So
Yeah, I really liked it, but again, I just wish there was more already because it feels like it is just the beginning of a lot of like plot threads,
Yes.
and it was just enough issues to like hook me.
Yes.
So I guess I will be following it
Good.
begrudgingly because I would really just like it all.
literally,
now.
I thought I was upset when I would have to wait a week to watch a TV show.
Yep.
I have to wait a month to read an issue.
Yeah.
Goes to show how good
someone's
it
doing
is.
a great job.
Diabolical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What about you, Rosanna? What did you think?
Oh, I loved it. It was great. The artwork style is definitely
Yes.
unique, incredibly unique. The character of Teresa, she's interesting. You know, she's not the best person,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you get invested and you kind of do want things to kind of work out
Yeah,
for her. a
she's
little
very messy, and I like that.
She's
Yeah.
definitely
She's very
very
like
messy.
she is not doing well. She's straight up not doing well.
She's
but neither
struggling
is
with sobriety.
Yeah.
She's taking care of her mom.
I love
she
her
was
mom,
just the
though.
best.
She went to 4 a.m. She went to her ex's house at 4 a.m. in the morning, drunk.
Yep.
Bruh. Oh my god, I loved it. It
Yeah.
had depth. The characters had depth. Jeff Lemire, I mean, he's a fantastic writer. Like y'all were saying, first issue, I was pulled in. I was pulled in. As soon as I saw this announced back like last year, I was like, oh, I would love to do an episode on this. I think we would all really enjoy it. And I mean, we're all going to be following along for sure, I'm
Yeah.
sure. But, so do you think the slow pacing adds to the depth of the story? How does the gradual buildup of mystery and magic affect the way we connect with Teresa and other characters?
I honestly don't see the pacing as slow. I feel like I feel like the way that he has paced things out actually gets to the point quite quickly. I feel like it's slow in terms of like things are just getting started and we don't know the depth of things just because it hasn't come out yet. But in terms of like how quickly things start falling together of like, okay, she's gotten to the town and she like even I feel like she takes that kind of moment of being like she's about to walk up to the psychic shop where her mom also lives and she's like, no, not yet. She goes to the bar and then she's like, no, not yet. And then she just walks inside. I feel like little moments like that do kind of show the kind of depth of character. But I also just feel like no panel is wasted. No dialogue is wasted.
Definitely.
Like you see that conflict already.
Yeah. So she goes to the bar. She says no. And then she goes back and just like
Binges.
goes
on a
ham.
bender.
Yeah.
Just a typical Tuesday night.
In the sleepy town of Cannery.
Yeah. So how does Teresa's complicated relationship with her mother drive the story?
I love their relationship. I love
Yeah.
the mom's character. I'm like, I can see her voice in my head just smoking, being like, I don't know. I'm sure you
I
can
get
do
you,
the
I
voice
get
more
you.
than me.
Yeah.
Go check on the customers, hon.
Hey, no,
she has
perfect.
that raspy voice. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
But
go
yeah,
ahead.
I like their relationship. Like I like how the daughter's just like, no, my mom's like just scamming people for their money. Like I don't believe any of this stuff. And then so when she starts like experiencing these things, I feel like that is definitely gonna affect their relationship. She's not gonna look at her mom as just this scamming person anymore. She's gonna be like, wow, I don't know. I think she's gonna be like, wow, you're actually helping people.
Yeah, do you think she's at some point she's probably gonna have to let her mom know this is what's going on?
Oh yeah.
And we do learn at the very end of issue 5 that her dad had these abilities. Her grandpa had these abilities as well. So this is something that runs in the family. So I wonder if the mother already has prior knowledge to that this runs in the family. You're special. Maybe it's something that the mother repressed or something like that. But I could see it going in a direction like that where they do bond over that.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that. Like, does her mom actually? Because it's not explicitly said like her mom has powers.
Oh,
so I
you
wonder
think she
if, like,
doesn't?
Maybe it
like she
skipped
probably
a
just
generation.
knew about it
and
wanted to have the powers.
Yeah, and then Teresa's actually the one that has the powers, and she's been fighting against her own grain for so long, and I feel like that's hindered her whole life up until now. So I am curious to see if her mom actually does have them or not.
She does seem to have like a big clientele though, in terms of like people seem to have a lot of trust in her.
Yeah.
And you can say that as like she seems very charismatic, or at least was whenever she was able to like continue working and build that client base. But like I genuinely think that if she does have powers, she is using them for good, but just kind of keeping it under wraps. But if she doesn't have them, people still trust her anyway because she's good at telling them what they want to hear. And then Teresa comes along and legitimately.
If she does have powers, they also might be dulled by the fact that one, she's sick. Another, she's a drink. She drinks
And
a
a
lot.
smoker.
And
Yeah.
a smoker, so those powers might have been dulled down because of that. So maybe if she comes clean, like listens to the doctor and her daughter now, maybe those will come back.
Boom,
You know?
twitches.
Yeah. I will say I do love that scene. I do love that scene a lot when it's Teresa and her mother go to the doctor.
Yeah.
And he's like, things are slowing down with your cancer. You're not in remission.
Yeah.
You're like, things are slowing down. And then she lies about like smoking and drinking. And Teresa immediately calls her out and is like, nope, you need to tell him. She's been smoking a lot. She's been drinking a lot. And the doctor's like, please don't push it. I'm really, really trying my best. I feel it's just such a realistic interaction because Teresa does genuinely care for her mother, but she just wishes that she'd be able to care for herself more. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people face, especially in that situation.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and her mom was like, "Oh, well, why does that matter? Because I'm getting better." And like, it's so much specified. Like, like you said, it's slowed down. You're not cured. You're not getting better. It's just.
I'm worried. I'm worried for her
exactly.
and the rest of the comic. I'm worried for her.
So switching over to a different setting, right? So it takes place in a town, but we do learn that Teresa kind of goes somewhere when her powers are activated. So it's like almost like a mysterious hotel of some kind, which is tied to when she reads a tarot reading, when she does the tarot readings. Do you think this represents fate, choice, or something else entirely? What kind of direction do you see that going in? What is this hotel?
I see it kind of like more as like a just, like kind of like a transient space
Yeah.
almost of like like just especially that image of like you're in a hotel and if you choose a door it will be led to somebody's afterlife. Like she chooses a door after while she's doing a reading for an old woman, Jean, who is asking after her late husband, Jean, and like opens the door whenever she kind of goes into like this mind palace hotel sort of thing. And there he is waiting, just waiting for his wife to eventually pass, and he's going to greet her. And I feel like just having access to those spaces is just, it's kind of like a portal. It's like a hub almost, you know?
Definitely.
A ghost hub.
A ghost hub.
So when she goes into when she does a second reading for the waitress who works at the diner, man, I thought it was going in a different direction. I thought we were going to learn that that something really, really dark happened to that little kid or on the show.
Yeah.
That's the direction I thought it was going in.
Yeah.
But we do find out that it led her to a piece of him to show her friend, her old high school friend or her old classmate that like, hey, your brother's okay. Your brother's okay.
Yeah, it was very misleading.
Yeah, it was very misleading.
But he's missing, right?
Yeah, he's missing.
So I mean, I think that still leaves the storyline open.
Yeah.
For sure.
No,
Different
definitely.
possibilities.
Yeah, definitely. So getting to the art style, Rosanna, you mentioned that you really liked it. So it looks like watercolor.
Yeah.
I believe. And then also Jeff Lemire, he's the writer and illustrator as well for this comics. So does it make the world feel more dreamlike, nostalgic? What are y'all feeling?
For sure, dreamlike, because I'm used to reading comics where it's like super polished. You see the lines, and then you see kind of this messy watercolor style. It adds just to kind of the whole, just the whole mystery of everything. The sleepy town, the just kind of realistic, quiet characters. It just really sets up the atmosphere.
They set the vibes from the
Definitely,
start.
definitely.
I think that it has a really good command of like color also, because the way that it'll build up emotion or like establish like where Teresa is, whether she's in the real world, if she's in like wherever she's being sent mentally whenever she does readings and stuff like that. It'll differentiate by being like, is it colorful? Is it monochromatic? Like, and I feel like that's just a really quick way to distinguish things. But also there's that scene where she goes to tell Jean, because she hadn't previously, she goes to tell the woman, Jean, like what her late husband had told her to tell. And she's just kind of like, everything is kind of like muted and stuff like that, because she's just like, I'm sorry I didn't admit this to you, but this happened. And then there's just that gorgeous large panel of like the sunset colors as Jean hugs Teresa, and Teresa kind of like feels like a spark of like meaning and hope and like purpose in her life because of it. And it shows that just with like these really beautiful colors. And I think that it just I think that it's just really, really good storytelling and really good command of how to use your medium like that, you know?
One of the scenes that I really like before we end the discussion on this is when Teresa goes to her ex's house at 4 a.m., right? And the ex, I forget her name. Melissa. When Melissa sees her, she's like, what the heck? What are you doing here? And then we see that Melissa's married, or she has a partner, Brad, and they have a child together. And Brad's kind of just like, okay, let me go get ready already.
He's very chill about it.
Yeah, he's very chill about it. And they do have that interaction, Teresa and Brad, while he's driving her home, right? So he drops her off, and then Teresa's a little bit confronted, like, about her BS. She's like, Brad's like, Melissa's in a good place right now. She's really happy. The next time you come to my house and bother my family, I'm gonna put you where we put the drunks, And I don't really necessarily know if that confronts Teresa the way it does, but she's like, hey, I Captain, And I do like that they introduced that, because she's doing a lot of things. Like, you're getting drunk when, like, that's a big thing. That's a big.
She needs to be.
Yeah, she needs to be confronted with like, what you're doing. That's not a good thing to be doing, And I like that Brad is gentle with it, but also firm.
Yeah, I feel like it lends to that, like, everybody knows everybody because it's a small town. Because Brad knows about Teresa already and is very much like, I know that her mom has cancer, because everybody knows that when Teresa comes back, everyone wants to talk to her about it, and she's like, great, okay, I hate that everybody knows this.
Yeah.
And I feel like at least the way I saw it is that he's like, I can totally understand why she's doing this and why she's spiraling and doing something just really stupid right now, but I am going to lay down the law.
Exactly.
You know?
Literally.
Literally.
If
He's
he
a
has
cop.
to. Yeah.
And it's kind of like, girl, you're going to call out your own mom in front of the doctor for,
Yeah.
all of her stuff. It goes both ways.
Yeah.
You're going to get called
He
out
needs to
for
be brought back to reality, So, out of 10, these first 5 issues, what are y'all giving it?
9 out of 10. I need to see where it goes, but I'm very
You're hooked.
happy with it. Yeah.
Nice. Rosanna?
I'd say 9 out of 10 as well. I think it's an 8-issue series, and I like that they have each issue lined up with one of the Minor Arcana.
Yeah.
Like you have the wands for the first one, and then I
Yes.
think it ends on the pentacles.
Ooh, yeah.
So that's been pretty cool so
Yeah.
far.
What about you, Ruby?
I would say 8 out of 10. I wish they were just a little bit longer.
Which is
I
fair.
feel like I just read each issue just like that.
Yeah, the first issue was a bit longer than the other
Yeah,
ones.
there was.
But typically it's like that with these type of series.
Yeah.
I give it a 10 out of 10. I
Nice.
loved it. I was like drawn in. I'm ready for more. Excuse me. I'm ready for more. But yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 for me. With that being said, this does end our discussion for Late Night with the Devil, which is available on Kanopy, and then Minor Arcana by Jeff Lemire, which, again, we have a plethora of his work on Hoopla, Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, all that jazz.
All right, so that's going to wrap it up for us over here. Make sure if you want to check out all these resources that you sign up for a library card at any one of our branches or online at BiblioTech.org. Thanks again for tuning in, everyone, to, once again, BiblioTech On Air, BiblioTech's official podcast.
Number 1 podcast.
Number 1 podcast
Yeah.
in Bexar County. No, we're working towards it, though. We're working
We'll be
towards
national by the end of the year.
Oh,
We're-
yeah.
it. Goals.
Yeah.
Realistic goals. All right, thanks, everyone. I'm Rosanna.
Ruby.
I'm Israel.
I'm Lewis.
Bye.